SD-WAN's doing is solving a new set of challenges that's facing a lot of organisations today that we haven't seen previously. So these are kind of new concepts to a lot of customers that they're maybe not familiar with, and they don't necessarily, firstly, understand the problem entirely initially, and secondly, they don't know what solutions are out there that are going to help them to deliver services when they're faced with these challenges. So I think from a customer perspective, what we're seeing a lot is when we're having conversations, a lot of customers have the same pain points, but they don't necessarily firstly know that there's something that's directly solvable without making big infrastructure investments. And I think that's one of the nice capabilities that SD-WAN gives us, is another tool to offer the customers and a solution to offer the customers for providing the level of service they want to provide to their users without having to make major infrastructure investments. So that's kind of what we're seeing from customers at the moment, is these kind of upcoming challenges, especially as they're kind of moving things around in the environments, as they're kind of moving things into centralized data centers, into the cloud. There's a whole new world of challenges out there that a lot of people need to prepare themselves for. So where people haven't already moved into that type of structure, they're going to be planning to move there. So this is where we're starting to have conversations with a lot of customers at the moment, in order to kind of help them understand the pain points they're likely to see before they get there.
So it'd be fair to say you're seeing a lot of demand around virtualizing the WAN, optimizing it, obviously going cloud first.
Right? I think certainly with cloud first, I think the network and the WAN tends to be almost forgotten sometimes in terms of kind of cloud readiness. People focus a lot on the workloads and kind of the abilities of the cloud providers to be able to accommodate the workloads, which is great, and that's extremely important, and it should be the first thought. But then people can't forget the fact that when you're moving things, then you need to make sure that your connectivity's there.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're moving things further away from the users, you need to make sure that your connectivity isn't going to become the pinch point in your architecture. And it can be a forgotten aspect sometimes. People have spent a lot of money investing in their network infrastructure. It's generally heavily focused around the kind of branch data center type topology. Now, when you're kind of moving things to the cloud, all of a sudden you haven't got an MPLS connection to the cloud. All of a sudden you've got an internet pipe, which typically is a third-class citizen. Like, if the internet breaks, who cares? Like, all that stuff's running out of our data center. All that business critical stuff. All that business critical stuff is sat in the racks in our data center. It's fine. Do you know what? The internet's broken. People can't get on Facebook. Do you know what? We're going to have a more productive day. Now, when kind of all of a sudden your line of business apps, your business critical workloads are then being accessed via the internet connection, you need to make sure that you've got the same level of focus, level of quality expectations from that internet breakout as you do from your MPLS circuits. So again, there's some very, very specific challenges that SD-WAN can help us solve in those types of scenarios as well.
So I mean, that's fantastic to hear that, right? That's more from a UK-centric view, from a European view. Do you agree with that from what you see?
Yeah, I think
your role?
Absolutely. I think from my perspective, LJ, what we've already seen is that customers are beginning to kind of switch on to what this technology can deliver for their organisations. And I think the change that we've found from the partner community is actually the customer's knowledge is actually somewhat way ahead. And that's the great opportunity for partners like Ultima, who've taken the time and effort to investigate the market very, very clearly, made the appropriate investments in sort of the sales and technical elements to really go and clearly articulating that complete story to the customers.
Here's a demonstration of how SD-WAN can be applied in real-world situations. So on the screen on the right, we have a Citrix session which is running via the SD-WAN solution. Now, we currently have an MPLS connection which is quite bandwidth constrained. So what we want to do is introduce some new bandwidth by adding a broadband circuit to the solution. Now, on the left-hand side, we can see the SD-WAN control panel, and what we'll see is that we've introduced a new path that the SD-WAN solution can use for passing the traffic to the data center. Now, we can see that path has now come up, and what you should notice on the right-hand screen is that the Citrix session performance has improved remarkably. Now, the video performance is far superior to that which it was before. Now, One of the other capabilities SD-WAN gives us is now we have two paths available. We then have introduced additional resiliency into the solution. So what we can do is simulate a failure on the MPLS circuit, which has just been marked as down. Now, even though your primary circuit has just gone into a failed state, you'll notice that the user's Citrix session remains uninterrupted on the right-hand monitor.
One of the key aspects about SD-WAN is adding a layer of intelligence to how you manage your networking. So for SD-WAN to be able to identify the traffic that's destined for those cloud workloads and intelligently route that, so by potentially breaking that connection out to the branch's own internet connection, rather than having to send it over the MPLS. Like that instantly makes the traffic flows far more efficient, and it also utilises a potentially underutilised resource in the branch, which would be their internet connection. So there's a lot of opportunity there to optimise and kind of add efficiency to what would otherwise be a kind of fairly inefficient connection process.
This diagram provides a very high-level overview of the NetScaler SD-WAN solution. Now, one of the important things to note is that in order to utilise NetScaler SD-WAN, you need to have an appliance at both ends of the connection. Now, in this topology, we have an appliance in the branch office, and we also have an appliance in the data centre. Now, between these two appliances, it creates a virtual connection. That connection can consist of multiple paths, and this is where NetScaler SD-WAN gets quite powerful. So you could have your traditional connection, so for example an MPLS connection. You could then also have an internet connection, which may currently be used for kind of direct internet access or as a backup circuit. You can then also have other connection mediums such as 4G LTE or even satellite, depending on where your branches are located. Now, all of these virtual paths can be consolidated into one virtual connection, which the NetScaler SD-WAN solution can use to pass traffic between the branch office and the data center. Now, what this enables us to do is to be able to consume the aggregate bandwidth that's available across these different circuits to ensure that we're delivering an optimal user experience for the users. It also gives us greater resiliency in the event of a circuit failure. For example, if your MPLS were to fail, you'd still have access to your data center resources via your internet connection, via your 4G connection, or even your satellite connection. And as long as there is a path available, the user's connections can remain uninterrupted, ensuring that you don't have any perceived downtime. So it gives you the ability to tolerate failures without impacting on user experience. We can also see from the diagram that NetScaler SD-WAN has the ability to intelligently route traffic to cloud services. Now, this can happen in one of two ways. Either we can utilize a third-party secure web gateway service and have NetScaler SD-WAN route traffic destined for software as a service solutions via the secure web gateway service to enhance user experience by avoiding hairpinning the connections through the data center. We also have the ability to host NetScaler SD-WAN as a virtual appliance in AWS or Microsoft Azure, which gives us the ability to use those cloud resources as another network location and gain the same benefits that we do with on-premises SD-WAN.
Cloud adoption is something that's really going to kind of drive adoption of SD-WAN. I think where customers have the flexibility to be able to provision services now, so standing up additional infrastructure becomes incredibly easy in a cloud world. Customers expect that same kind of flexibility from all the services they're providing, whether it be their network, whether it be their infrastructure. And there are a lot of kind of industries where kind of they want to leverage that responsiveness to kind of drive profitability. So if you look at kind of organisations such as like retail, where potentially they want to be able to deploy a new site, they want to have that kind of on board and active and revenue generating as soon as possible. Now, again, kind of looking at the kind of classic network architectures, when you're kind of contacting your provider to kind of commission a new MPLS tail, you're looking at weeks and weeks and weeks, if not months of lead time to actually get that commission. Exactly. So customers want something that's going to be kind of more responsive, which is going to let them be more flexible and kind of like help them drive their business. So it's IT as an enabler. It's all about being able to say yes. Nobody wants to say no, but sometimes you have to say, just wait a bit. But things like SD-WAN kind of give you the ability to say, well, hey, do you know what? There is a solution that we can kind of put in place for this. Do you know what? We can bring this site online. Do you know, we can put in to broadband connectivity. We could even potentially add 4G connectivity to get that site up and running and revenue generating faster for you. We can still go off and we can commission our MPLS sales, so kind of our provider still gets their money down the line, but it doesn't hold up our timescales, and we can still deliver value for the business, and we can be the IT department that says yes.
Absolutely, that's the whole goal, right? Is to say yes more often. I think a lot of what you talked about is valid, it's truthful, it resonates, it's where a lot of people are going. I think one of the other things that is quite maybe a little bit of a misconception out there is how well does this stuff actually perform in a Citrix world and a non-Citrix world.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the key thing is when you're delivering things like virtual applications and virtual desktops through Zen App and Zen Desktop, you get some pretty nice cost savings around the bandwidth, around some of the stuff that we can do. Printing, if you take it that whole concept and then you actually break Citrix out of that for a moment and actually just look at web applications traversing at different data sets across the network, right? We can have some pretty significant cost-efficient savings around there between actually the appliances themselves, caching, so playing into that whole WAN optimization space, which we've been doing for quite a while. And then over and above that, we can then overlay on SD-WAN for the virtual WAN elements, which means we can then choose and pick which path we need to pass the traffic down for.
Yeah.
What's right versus what's relevant, or what's most efficient, right? And also what's most cost-effective.
We want to make sure that you're getting the best utilisation out of what you have available. So especially within HDX, you want to make sure that, you know what, users are finding their workspace responsive, that it's performant, and that it should be a pleasure to use. It should be adaptive. Yes, exactly. It's an excellent word, LJ. So users are going to be far more tolerant of when they click print for it to take an extra few seconds for it to come out of their printer than they would if when they click print, their screen becomes unresponsive and kind of everything stops working. So having SD-WAN in the picture enables us to provide intelligent optimization based on the specifics of the content within the HDX channel, rather than treating it as kind of competitive products would see it as kind of one single monolithic protocol which they handle as one single connection. Whereas we're able to obviously dissect that and understand the constituent parts and make that up.